In 2015, the Inclusive Collective almost ceased to exist. Some people thought, ministry is just too hard to do on this campus. But we saw the University of Illinois at Chicago as a microcosm of what the U.S. is becoming in terms of diversity. We also knew that without our presence, there would be no other ministry for students to ask big theological questions. No other ministry was truly inclusive and pursuing justice.
At the start of my junior year, I was sitting in a coffee shop right off of campus and had been chatting with some students. As I was leaving, a guy said to me, "It sounds like you know a lot about UIC. I'd love to ask you some questions because I'm launching a new ministry here." I thought, this pastor has no idea that I'm queer and disabled, and if he knew who I really was, he wouldn't want my opinion.
Our students don't just talk about justice issues, many of them are directly impacted by systemic oppression and marginalization. We believe the people most impacted by injustice should have the skills and support needed to catalyze change. We want our students to become bold leaders and solve the problems that reflect their lives.
When Zoe, my college roommate and best friend, first mentioned this place to me, I was skeptical. I mean, we were both jaded by Christianity. Surprisingly, I found a space where it was encouraged to wrestle with scripture and faith.
The support from this community has empowered me to show up in the world and claim my identities as a queer, disabled Christian woman. It has given me the bravery I need to go into unfamiliar spaces and be authentic. We have a way of doing church that is healing, inclusive, and inspires people to faithfully pursue justice in the world.
My experience with church was very shallow before the Inclusive Collective. This community helped me heal and work through a lot of my trauma with the church and Christians in general. We don't tell people what they need healing for. Rather, we provide space for folks like me to heal in whatever ways they need.
The church has done some really damaging things to people. We feel called to create a Christ-centered space where people can heal the wounds of ministry malpractice and spiritual trauma. And when we say we're Christ-centered, we're not talking about a gentle Jesus, but a Jesus who is living in trying times, turned over tables, and created a community of hope and healing everywhere he went. He was radically inclusive, so shouldn't we be too?